oh man, this blue anthropomorphic hedgehog just keeps appearing on this channel, doesn't he? From top 10 lists to let's plays to a review on a freaking movie. No, that review wasn't ripping on Nostalgia Critic at all. Really. But in all seriousness, I love these games. Yeah, the series may have its low points and its really low points, but there are just too many good games for me to really care. I own pretty much all the games, well, all the ones that matter. Now, of all these games, I was trying to figure out exactly which ones would be most convenient to review, while at the same time being fairly interesting to talk about. So I figured I would go with the series that everyone considers consistently good, the classics. But before we get started, a little history. In the late 80s and early 90s, a company known as Sega was in competition with Nintendo in their console wars, the NES versus the Genesis. With Nintendo about to release their new Super Famicom in Japan and the SNES in America, Sega was put under pressure to make a new IP that would go up against Super Mario. And so, in 1991, we got Sonic the Hedgehog, who later went on to be the face of the Genesis and Sega. I find it funny that he became Sega's mascot when he really doesn't do all that well in Japan. He does a lot better in the US and UK, so why wouldn't he do as well in Japan? I don't know, it's not really important, so I'll just keep going on. When this game came out, it was a monster hit, to the point of where it was bundled with every Sega Genesis that came out afterwards. Later games would go on to be more successful as the series went on, but it is interesting looking back and seeing what makes this title so enjoyable. Like my review of Splatoon, I will be taking a look at the plot first, as it is usually the shortest thing to talk about when it comes to games. So let's get started with the plot. Like most games of its era, the story is rather simple. But I wouldn't say it's really a bad thing, though. Most games of this time didn't really have in-depth plots, with maybe the exception of the Final Fantasy games. A good chunk of video game plots at that time came down to, I must stop the evildoer! You will never stop me from achieving my ultimate goal. Well, that certainly hurt. That doesn't completely apply here, though. Our main villain, Dr. Robotnik, wants to kidnap these little animals named Fliggies to power his machines, the ultimate in hamster wheel technology. As Sonic, you need to stop Robotnik's plans of roboticizing everything and return all the animals to their homes. Wait a minute. This is a children's game with an environmental message that's subtle? Yeah, this game actually has a subtle yet kind of clever environmental message. I'm actually impressed. You don't see too many games of its time having something like this, and I do respect the attempt. Whether or not it was effective, I don't know, but I still find stuff like this pretty cool. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about the gameplay. The main gimmick of the game and pretty much the rest of the series is how fast it is, as it is achieved by blast processing, allowing you to go faster than you've ever been before on the Sega Genesis. After all, Genesis does what Nintendo don't. What the hell just happened? Well yeah, the game's main focus is speed and seeing how fast you can get through levels. Building up speed via momentum is a big aspect of the game, as some sections require you to roll back and forth to reach new areas. This doesn't really apply when running though, as Sonic has a certain speed he can cap at and can't really go any faster than that unless he gets speed sneakers. Now before you hardcore classic Sonic fans dogpile me, let me just say that Sonic controls great in this game. Jumping is responsive, the movement isn't stiff in the slightest, and rolling extremely fast through enemies is so satisfying. Unfortunately, the game doesn't always give you that option, as some stages don't allow much speed. Stages like Green Hill, Spring Yard, and Starlight are pretty fun to travel through and allow for some pretty high speeds at points. However, stages like Marble Zone, Labyrinth Zone, and Scrap Brain Zone do not. They either move too slow, are incredibly monotonous, or have lots of obstacles that you need to avoid. And the most prominent example of this is Labyrinth Zone. This place drags. It takes forever to complete. The water is so annoying because you have a limited amount of air, and it's so boring. I feel confident in saying that when you first play this game, a fifth of your total playtime will be in this stage. Not even the stage theme is that good, which is really jarring considering the rest of the soundtrack is great. Every theme got stuck in my head when I first played it, and I always look forward to listening to these memorable tunes. You would think it being on the Sega Genesis, the music would be really ear-grating, but just listen to this. And while we're on the subject of the game's presentation, this game looks freaking great. For 1991, the attention to detail in stages and the use of parallax scrolling makes the game look absolutely wonderful. This doesn't exactly apply to all the stages. As I said, Labyrinth Zone looks pretty bland and the special stages are just an eyesore. Oh yeah, I guess I should talk about the special stages. You see, these levels can only be accessed by collecting 50 rains and jumping into a giant rain at the end of the stage. Doing so will send you to what I can only assume is an acid trip from hell, where you need to navigate your way through these mazes to reach a mystical gem known as the Chaos Emerald. Getting all 6 will allow you to get the second ending, which is the better ending of the game. I didn't do that for this review, and I'll tell you why. These special stages are annoying. On top of being in a rotating box, the first time you play, you won't know where to go, which at some points can cause you to fall right out of the stage. Not to mention, you only have 10 chances to get the emeralds, so that's 4 out of 10 chances of not getting all the emeralds. And I guarantee you, a majority of that is missing the ring by undershooting it. I swear, it happens all the time. I hate when this happens. But with that said, with saying the game's flaws, the game as a whole is rather fun. Like I said before, the controls are great, the graphics and music are fantastic, and while the levels aren't at their best, they're not awful. Again, it mostly results from something I like to call first game syndrome, where they're trying to test out new things that you think will work. Games later on will do the formula better, some more than others, but as is, for our first game, I consider it pretty damn good. But there is one question. Can I recommend this as your first Sonic the Hedgehog game? No. Like I said, games later on in the series will go on to expand what made this game so great, while at the same time working out some of the problems that plagued it. Even then, it's not really the game's fault, it's first game syndrome. Which is exactly what Sega did in 1992 when they released Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And yes, I will be looking at all the classic Sonic games in a row, so consider this a marathon of sorts. But with that said, I'll see you guys next time with Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I'll see y'all then.